Hey, welcome to Fan Theory Queries, where we analyze fan theories from all over the internet, but mostly Reddit. I'm Laura.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Spencer.
All right, this next theory is from user Comprehensive Ad 3963. And this is from Beauty and the Beast, that Gaston and, is it Dark or Dark, knew the Beast was a handsome prince. So in the movie/musical, Gaston comes to Dark with a proposition. Gaston will pay Dark to declare Maurice insane if Belle does not agree to marry Gaston. At this point, Maurice has already told the townsfolk what he saw, so Dark surely wouldn't need to be convinced to institutionalize Maurice if Dark was indeed convinced that Maurice was insane. He could simply go about with business as usual. The fact that Dark talked business with Gaston tells me Dark knew that there was a beast capable of doing what Maurice claimed the beast did. In fact, perhaps the same could be said of Gaston. Also, why would Gaston be afraid of Belle marrying a beast if he didn't know what happened to the beast? Common sense would dictate that without such knowledge, Gaston should know two things. 1, you can't legally marry a beast. 2, a beast has a beastly nature. Gaston needs only to wait for the beast to go back to its natural instincts, and then Belle will come running back and might even prefer to marry Gaston. So the best conclusion is that Gaston, and to a certain extent Dark, knew that there was a beast in the castle, and that this beast was a handsome prince who was transformed into a beast, and who would be transformed back into a handsome prince if he found someone with whom he could form a romantic relationship. And the user goes on to add, Gaston was a war hero, implying some sort of military service. As an officer in the military, he may have interacted with the prince turned beast at some point in his military career.
What's funny is I had no idea what they were talking about. I didn't know who Dark was. It's been so long since I've seen the movie, but I went and watched the clip, and the first thing that stood out to me was Gaston gives him a bag of gold coins, and he takes one of the coins and rubs it against his face, and it makes a scraping sound, almost like his face was made of stone. It was really funny. I know that's not anything to do with this theory.
I would have thought that was against his whiskers that it made that sound.
No, it did not sound like whiskers. It sounded like stone. Anyway.
Weird.
Interesting.
Yeah. Overall, I don't know. What are you thinking, Laura, since you brought this up? Just in general, what are you thinking of these various points?
Usually with folklore, it stands to reason that the people in the village would have known about the curse. I mean, that always has kind of stood out to me. I think they did all in the village know that there was a beast there, but I feel like going a step further, when you normally look at these Grimm's fairy tales and whatnot, the village knows that somebody had been cursed to become a beast. Same with werewolves, they knew that someone was cursed to become a werewolf. It wasn't like a werewolf was its own separate entity. It came from a human. And so I feel like the people in the village would have known. And if you're going to narrow it down, yes, Gaston would have known this person, the prince, was who was cursed to become the beast. Right? Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're on the money with that. It just doesn't make sense for them to not know.
What I don't understand is he's the prince of this kingdom that they live in. How long has this, that's the thing, is how long has this, when this curse happens, does it freeze all the furniture people and the beast in time? Or because if he's young, he gets turned into the beast and he becomes unbeast, he's still young. You see what I'm saying? Has this curse only gone on for a few years, or does it freeze everybody in time in their age, and then they continue aging after they become inanimate objects?
Animate objects?
Yes. Sounds like a line from Multiverse of Madness.
Hey, don't jump ahead here. I think so, yes. I think Chip was a young boy when it happened, and after they became human again, always human again, he was a little boy still. He wasn't a preteen, you know. He was still a kid, and it didn't happen when he was a baby. And it stands to, well, no, I guess not. I was gonna say, I mean, that item wouldn't grow, you know, as the child grew, but things age.
Yeah.
So how long do you think this curse has been active?
I will say I'm pretty sure there are extensive things on the internet that I haven't looked up yet as far as people have gone in depth analyzing the curse on the beast. I can guarantee if people are as fascinated and detail oriented about Disney World, the theme park, based off of all of these stories that Disney has made, then I can guarantee somebody has gone in and in-depth analyzed and laid out what the curse entails. So I just haven't been willing to go there yet.
I would like to point out one flaw in this. Gaston should know two things. One, you can't legally marry a beast. Laura, you married me, so...
Wow.
There's that.
Touche. You said you wanted to point out two things.
Oh, I meant only one.
Oh.
Michael, do you have any other thoughts about this?
Nothing really new to add. Like I would side on the side of like the curse does kind of create this time bubble around them to where whenever it is ended, they do revert back to the age they were before. They obviously don't age. So I guess it's possible that they were, because they don't age, they've been in this curse for so long that the townspeople have kind of had a generation or two at this point, and to where the memory of the prince has kind of faded, and it's become like this urban legend of the beast within the town. And so that's why everybody's scared. They don't understand that it's the handsome prince, you know, been cursed. So I don't know. That's kind of where I see it, or what I'd like to think.
They definitely don't. They definitely act like they have no idea. Like they act like there's just a beastie thing. So at least the average people don't know about it.
Yeah, maybe part of the curse is that the people forget the prince. Maybe that was a little bit of flavor that the witch or whoever it was that put the curse on him added to the curse. So, Enchantress, that's right, yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen this movie, too. I
think that's a very good point, that they could have all just forgotten due to the curse. Because as you said that, I started remembering, you know, like due to a lot of anger and resentment, obviously, that the beast felt during these years of being alone, he kind of destroyed the castle. But then when the curse is broken, everything is restored. Everything is nice again, you know, like the stuff that he ripped to shreds. Oh, it's all better now. So that I could see that being linked with, or being part of the curse as well, of the castle's restored, their memories are restored now. I think it's interesting how the user added that Gaston was a war hero, implying military service, and he was an officer in the military. He may have interacted with the prince turned beast at some point in his military career. That is interesting. I don't know about French monarchy. I know that like in the English monarchy, that was if you were designated as a landowner and like a person in charge of your fiefdom, dukedom, whatever, yes, that was your responsibility to raise an army in support of the king. So since he's a prince, which I'm wondering if he even really was a prince or if that was just a word that Disney chose to give him just so that it was a little more identifiable to like American audiences, you know, if maybe he was really just like a duke or whatever. But that would stand to reason. Yes, he would have been in charge of raising an army, and Gaston could have been an officer in that army or just an exemplary service. I don't know. That I could see that, yes, that he would have known this prince. They could have, who knows, they could have been buddies, and then this curse wiped his memory so he couldn't remember him. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think he ever interacted with the prince turned beast at all.
Okay. Thank you for stepping on everything, just squashing everything I just laid out. Appreciate it.
What I mean is, this person has this interesting theory, but I don't see anything at all pointing to the validity of it. No evidence really that they are aware. Like, they speculate all this, but there's never, like, everything points the opposite. Like, everyone is surprised, everyone is scared, there's this mystery about this beast. What are we going to expect when we get there? How are we going to defeat it? And I don't know. That's just what the direction I'm leaning.
Well, I think that's about it as far as discussion. Anybody else have anything to add?
No.
Okay, well then I think we're ready to rate this. Why don't we get a rundown of the ratings, Michael?
So this is how our rating scale goes. We start at the top with genius level. This is basically a theory that's so good we believe it's better than the actual canon. Next down is plausible. This is a good theory that's just believable. Next down is unlikely. It's an okay theory, not terrible, but it's probably pretty unlikely. And then last, we have preposterous. This is a theory that's just stupid. Basically, we're all dumber for having listened to this theory.
All right. I'll go. Do you want me to go first?
Absolutely.
I'm going to say this is unlikely for lots of reasons. But, like, if they knew... So he just wants to go kill the beast just because he wants Belle. Is that what this is assuming? They have a whole song about killing the beast. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to go with unlikely on this one.
So I'm going to rate this at unlikely as well. It's an okay theory, but I just don't see it being true in any instance of this.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that as well. And I'm actually kind of leaning a little toward preposterous because, like, honestly, after discussing everything with you guys, it's like I just wasted so many minutes of my life reading this theory and discussing it and used up valuable airtime with you guys. So
are you mad?
And I'm a little embarrassed, and I'd like to apologize to our listeners. User comprehensive ad 3963. I'm not sure what you were trying to contribute to society with this, but just know that we think you failed.
You have failed this podcast.
And all of the human race.
Yeah.
All right, then. So the next theory I have is from Scooby-Doo, just the Scooby-Doo series in general, and this is from Baby Walker 66. The title of their theory is, The Scooby-Doo Gang Are Con Artists. They start with, Hear Me Out, spelled H-E-R-E. Have you ever been to a town where some guy dresses as a ghost, robs banks? Of no one, of course, because it was Scooby Gang.
Where some guy dressed as a ghost?
Yes. The wording is not quite academic. The gang are high school kids, a jock, nerd, popular girl, stoner, and his dog. I'm pretty sure as soon as they were close to graduation, they got a hit of reality. Fred was probably on the football team and got injured and lost a scholarship. Daphne's parents stopped giving her allowances. Velma couldn't get into school of her dreams, and Shaggy and Scooby can't afford all the food they eat without work. So, they go into business to become con artists. They blackmail people across the country to dress up as creatures to do crimes and catch them. Fred and Shaggy probably hurt the ones who say no. Daphne creates the costumes. Velma does research on people to do the crimes so they can get paid. This explains why every town they're in, including theirs, that people dressed as ghosts, vampires, and werewolves rob banks and stuff and catch them easily without any real police work. Once the fake bad guys are captured, the gang gets paid and moves on to the next town. The movies with real creatures, I say, aren't real, but stories they come up with to make it seem like they are legit. Plus, Shaggy can make them smoke weed to make them forget and give them hallucinogenics to make it more realistic. Plus, Velma and Daphne can dress as prostitutes to find victims.
Oh my gosh!
Wow. The end.
Wow.
Oh my gosh!
I guess Shaggy is getting his supply from Arnold's grandparents. To take us back to another episode.
Episode 2. Holy smoke.
Oh,
okay, Baby Walker 66. How are you? What's happening in your life that this is what you sit and ruminate on? Really?
Okay, now, Let's treat them fairly, like everybody else.
True. Yeah. Why does anybody think any of these things?
So I'm going to bring up some points here. They make some good observations. Maybe the reasoning behind them is off, but it is true that they just happen to be in the right place at the right time. Every single time, there's some kind of bad guy dressing up as a bad guy monster thing. Coincidence?
You know, that's very similar to the whole theory that Murder, She Wrote.
Yes.
She was actually the killer all along.
I've heard that
everywhere
one.
she went. Yes.
And knowing Angela Lansbury, she probably very well could.
We need to add that to the list. We need to go in depth on that theory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stay tuned for future episodes. We'll talk about
And we all need to watch Murder, She Wrote. I don't know. I never thought of Fred as a jock.
No, I guess not.
I always saw him as just kind of like he would have been like the popular kid.
Yeah, the class president dude.
Yeah, that could have been one of those people who is like good at everything, who does everything. He's like class president. He's prom king. You know, he's captain of the football team. Blah blah blah. Like straight A's valedictorian. All that stuff. He could have been one of those people. So
Maybe. I still just don't see the athletic element to him. Partly just because of the ascot, personally.
And the way he runs, too.
Yeah.
Kind of like Barry Allen.
But to be fair, like compared to the rest of the gang, like he is technically the most athletic out of them, even though he's not really athletic.
Mm-hmm.
He's 70s athletic.
Yes. Yes. Oh, man.
I'm very surprised at the whole thought of Velma not being able to get into the school that she dreams of.
Yeah. There's no way
track.
she'd get it anywhere she wants to go in. Mm-hmm. She's so smart. Now I know there's always been that joke that Shaggy is a stoner just because of like the way he behaves and stuff, but there's never been any evidence of that, right?
No.
I mean, we never see Shaggy smoking a doobie.
We don't see it, but I mean, he does have some behaviors of a stoner. That's another reason I don't see him and Scooby being the muscle. Like they talk about in this of that they'll hurt people who say no. No, they won't.
No.
They'll offer to share a sandwich with them.
But it could be Shaggy that could possibly be giving them the hallucinogenics to make it more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And Velma and Daphne as prostitutes? What do you think?
No.
I don't buy it.
Do you think there's any plausibility to them at least somewhat being involved in setting up these schemes, regardless of the motive, regardless of the way it works out, but because just of the sheer coincidences that happen of them always being in the place where they can solve a crime, is it just coincidence?
Yeah, I would say there's no way that it's just coincidence. There's you can't always be in the exact right place at the exact right time every single time.
So I'm gonna just totally admit to you guys, I wasn't an avid Scooby-Doo watcher as a child. Like I've watched a little bit of the newer like What's Up Scooby-Doo, I think that's up that kids watch now, and I watched the Scoob movie with my daughters, and aren't they called to come to places to solve mysteries? Or is it literally that they're just like, let's just go off somewhere and oh my gosh, there's a mystery here?
Yes, that's exactly what happens.
Oh, I thought that's because they're the Mystery Inc. gang. The people were going, oh no, something's wrong. Let's call the Mystery Inc. gang.
No, at least in the original show, that's how it was. They just happened to be there.
Oh, and
full
look, there's the Harlem Globetrotters too. Like, what?
Let's have a pickup basketball game. They're here. No, full disclosure, I didn't really watch Scooby-Doo either. I tried, but I never got into it. It was never my thing.
Yeah, no, I loved it. There may have been instances where like there are two ways that it will occasionally happen is they would actually be part of the events that are happening, or they are in the town and, you know, they may be asked while there to look into this thing that's happening. But as far as I could recall, at least nothing before current times were they ever like called up and said, hey, you know, we've got this issue. Will you come solve it? I mean, they're always there when something happens. This person comment from Robot King I mean, it's an amusing theory to think about, but it's hard to believe that out of all the people they blackmail, none of them have ratted the mystery gang out if they're being blackmailed. And then a reply from Deleted. The person being blackmailed probably thought they were getting something in return, but when they got arrested, this proved not to be true. If it comes up in court trial, then there is no evidence to say that they were blackmailed. There's also the issue of all the people getting caught by Mr. Inc. say they got blackmailed, which would raise some concerns, but they probably bribed the judge or something. So there's an answer for everything. Okay. Well, do you have anything to add before we rate this?
Not really.
Okay. Michael, let's hear from you.
So I'm going to be a little controversial here. I'm going to rate this as genius because I don't care. I like this. I like this version better than the actual version because I never got into Scooby-Doo. I thought it was stupid how they were able to solve all these mysteries without doing any detective work whatsoever.
That's not true. They did detective work.
Not unless they set it up themselves.
To see the detective work, but still, I never got into the show. Never really cared for it. Honestly, Scooby and Shaggy's voices annoyed me so much that I couldn't watch
why
the
you
show.
gotta say that, man?
Exactly. So yeah, I'm just gonna say genius because I want this to replace the actual canon.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm on preposterous. I do feel dumber after listening to that.
Yeah, I mean, it is intriguing and interesting that they are there every time, but the way this theory is put together, it is definitely preposterous in every sense of the word, even down to the Velma and Daphne dressing as prostitutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. Let's zip that one up like a costumed villain.
Okay.
All right, so our next theory is from user DickieDoo123, which is a great username. And it is about the Psych TV show, for those of you that are familiar. So the theory is that everyone knows Shawn isn't psychic. DickieDoo123 says, I've been rewatching one of my childhood favorites, Psych, and it's dawning on me that literally everyone knows Shawn isn't psychic, but they don't care. It's in the song. The intro song, I Know You Know, is performed by the Friendly Indians, which is the band of the series creator Steve Frank. He created it for the show, and I believe it sums up the dynamic of the show. Let's go line by line. I know you know that I'm not telling the truth. So they all know that he's not psychic and he's just really eccentric. They stop questioning it because they don't want to know he knows. It's one of those, I know you know, but you know that I know you know, and it kind of gets compounded like that. Shawn being a psychic allows them to have cause to check things out that they normally wouldn't be able to. So basically he can get them into places that they normally couldn't get into as cops. I know you know, they just don't have any proof. This line has a dual meaning. They don't have proof that he isn't psychic, and they also call him, or he and Gus just show up, when there is no proof that a murder has occurred. The next line. Embrace the deception. Learn how to bend. Your worst inhibitions tend to psych you out in the end. They just don't care that he's lying to them, is basically what it means. And they're fine to just accept his visions as reasons to check things out. They don't know, or they don't want to know how he knows because he is always going outside the law to solve crime. They'd rather be lied to. They are learning how to bend the law to catch the bad guys. Their inhibitions, keeping them from taking leaps of faith on Shawn and Gus, are what give Psych the edge over the SBPD. All in all, it's a really good intro song, and I love listening to it each time another episode spins up. So that's his theory. First off, Laura, Spencer, have you guys watched Psych? Are you familiar with the show?
Yes. So it holds a special place in my heart in particular because when we got into this, it was 2013. A lady that we knew was just a huge Psych fan, and I don't know what pushed us. I think Spencer may have watched a few episodes before we got married, and I had never watched it before. But this was when we brought our first daughter home from the hospital, and I was home on maternity leave. We were binging Psych during our first weeks of being parents. So it just holds a really special place in my heart that we had our first daughter, our new baby home with us, and we were watching Psych. And those memories are, from what I can remember from what little sleep I got, very dear.
I love that. That's a great story. And Psych is a fantastic show. My brother actually got me into it when I was younger. And so I watched it when it was still airing. I love it. My thoughts are that it's very possible that they all know. I mean, they make some very good points in this theory.
Yeah, I watched this show too before. I watched it along because it kind of started airing the same time as Monk did. I love Monk.
Yeah.
And this one was just kind of in the same, not the same, a similar vein, but obviously a lot more kooky. Like, I love the chemistry between Shawn and Gus.
Gosh, it's fantastic.
yeah.
It makes the show.
It's like, I'm the best observer that you know.
You thought that a sponge in the sink at the psych office was a bird last week.
If you'd stop buying them in bird colors, that would stop happening. It's a little impromptu scene there. And then, of course, all the fun nicknames like...
that Shawn makes up for guests whenever they're going to question people.
That's
my favorite
Methuselah
part of the show.
Honeysuckle. Like some of the other ones. Die Harder or Squirts Macintosh.
Yeah.
Resourceful Cuss. Tay Diggs. Daquan Smallpox Randolph. Oh, that's a good one in there.
And then sometimes Gus just rolls with it and totally plays it off. And then sometimes Gus is like, really, man? And he does this. At him.
Yeah.
But, the whole idea of this theory, I understand it, but I don't, part of me doesn't want to believe it because it kind of messes up the whole show, in my opinion. If everybody knows, then what's the point? I think there's a case for maybe one or two characters, but I like the idea. Like Juliet, for example, like when she finds out that he's not a psychic, like that's a big deal. It's a huge conflict in their relationship. And so I don't think that she knows. What do y'all think about Juliet?
I don't know. I feel like it's almost like the Batman principle personally of for a police department to stay by the book and follow the rules, they have to have probable cause in order to actually like enter a place to go and investigate, whereas Shawn is a civilian. And of course, there can be charges pressed against him if he's breaking and entering. However, if he finds probable cause that closes the case, they're going to overlook that and go, hey, he solved the case. And so I feel like at least if the chief knows, Chief is just like, hey, it's a way for us to be able to solve the case without us getting our hands dirty. And as long as he's right and gets it right, we don't need to press charges because, hey, he caught the killer, you know? I totally ascribe at least to, I know you said that you don't think Juliet, but I feel like honestly, maybe Juliet just wants to believe it. Because I think that she and the chief and possibly Lassiter are just too smart to actually fall for, he's a psychic. Really?
Yeah. I agree. I feel like for sure the chief knows. She would have to know because of the reasons you gave. Like, she would have to know that this was a way to kind of manipulate the system a little bit, allow them to get in where they couldn't before. She's not dumb, like you said. And the same with Juliet and Lassiter. I'm not 100% on Juliet. I think that she may have just been blinded by her feelings from the beginning, which could have prevented her from realizing the truth. But I'm pretty sure Lassiter knew. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's an episode, and I'm pretty sure there's a comment. Let's see, and let's go to the comments here from Old Dad Energy. It says in the first season, yeah, I love that username. In the first season, Lassiter gets drunk and tells Shawn in no uncertain terms that he knows he's not a psychic, but that Shawn is the most amazing deductive investigator he has ever seen, and he is frankly jealous of him. Lassiter forgets the conversation, but of course, Shawn does not. And he and Gus even spend that episode propping Lassiter up and making it look like Lassie solved the case to kind of like throw off the scent, you know?
Oh,
that's a good episode.
So,
that's a good one.
Yeah, so for sure the chief and Lassiter, possibly Juliet. Let's see.
Someone else kind of counters that. This is from Tim Midge. The chief might know, however, it wouldn't make sense for Juliet and Carlton to know. Juliet finds out later in the show and it leads to a huge fallout. Carlton keeps trying to prove Shawn is lying. Almost every episode he is suspicious of him. If he knew he was faking and just didn't care, he wouldn't spend that much effort trying to prove it. That last bit doesn't necessarily track.
Wait, no. If he knew he was faking the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That those actually work together, Spencer.
Yeah.
No, like what they're saying is if he knew he was faking, Okay, never mind. Go
Carlton
ahead.
keeps trying to prove Shawn is lying. He's faking because he knows you're a liar.
Mhm.
It's just that deep down, what old dad energy is saying is he knew he was really good. And he knew that without his help, they probably wouldn't have been able to close as many cases as they had. But then Timage, the other commenter, he's showing that side of Lassie that's, trying to disprove Shawn every step of the way because he knows he's a fake. I think it's an inner conflict for Lassie of, gosh, he's really good and he's helping us solve these cases. But the other side of him is going, but he's a liar and we're breaking the law, letting him do these things. But then he's solving cases, and so then maybe with that drunk filter, he was able to tell him, look, I know you're really good at this stuff and everything. And tell him his true feelings of, yeah, you're really good at what you do.
Yeah, I agree.
It looks like we have another comment here that we could read from AOBCD 8663.
Yeah. So basically, they say that the chief knew from day one. I feel like that's canon. Carlton knew but could never prove it. Juliet thought she knew but trusted Shawn enough to believe him. So that kind of backs up essentially kind of what we've been saying, what the other commenters have been saying. So yeah, I think it centers around those three. I don't think anybody else really knew, though.
I would bet his dad knows.
Well, yeah, his dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
But why is it such a big deal for Jules when it's revealed or proven to her that he's a fake if she already knows?
I feel like she just feels like she was lied to because he tried to keep up the facade. And so she's upset about that more than the fact that that he is a psychic,
She knew in her heart of hearts, there's no way. But the fact that he kept telling her so emphatically, yes, I am. She just chose to believe him. I could see that.
Then she should be mad at herself.
She might be, but she doesn't know how to express that, so she takes it out on Shawn.
It's very possible.
That happens sometimes.
So the only other thing that needs to be added is there was an edit to this from the original user, and it says the reason the chief lets it go is because Shawn's visions always lead to A, evidence being uncovered, and or B, a confession. A psychic's vision would not be admissible in court, and so someone only offering visions would be laughed out of the station by the chief. The chief goes along with it because she knows Shawn is indeed a good detective, and it's the only way she can get that good of a detective on her team. So, yeah.
Why didn't she just hire him as a detective?
He didn't go through the academy?
Yeah. It would be a lot of bureaucratic stuff that he'd have to go through the whole training and academy and all that stuff. And
Shawn does not strike me as the kind of guy who wants to deal with that.
No. No. He would never do that.
No. But hey, did you hear about Pluto?
That's messed up, man.
I think that pretty much wraps this one up. Are you guys ready to rate?
Yes, I'm ready to rate.
Okay, Laura, please kick us off.
Oh, Lord. I am vacillating here between genius and plausible. I'm going to go with genius. I think this is canon. This is my canon that, yes, they knew. They just went along with it just to be able to solve cases.
Yep. So I'll also go with genius on this. I honestly kind of suspected a portion of this theory whenever I was watching the show. So for me, this just kind of confirms my own headcanon. Genius.
I'm going to go with plausible. I guess it's, there's the argument, they're not dumb, so they would obviously know what's going on. But I don't want them to know it because then I feel like that takes away from the show. So,
well, Shawn is essentially like a big child. And like they know that he's this extremely talented big child, and they know that if they tell him the truth, that it'll upset him, and he probably won't want to use this skill anymore because he feels like he's getting away with it, and that's what is exciting for him. So that's why they know, but they go along with it, in my opinion.
I wonder if there's a bit of like savantism, if that's a word.
Yeah,
if he's a little bit of a savant with this of he shouldn't be this good at it. He is. We shouldn't be encouraging it, but we're going to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Laura,
Spencer,
Michael,
guys,
it's time to bring this episode to a close. But before we do, I'd like to share a fascinating movie detail I discovered on Reddit. From user PenguinMonk19, the producers had to pay Hollywood actors to act in Cats since real cats refused to be associated with the film.
Yep. I totally believe that.
Yeah.
I would never want to be associated with that.
Yeah. And the only reason those actors were involved is because they were paid.
Well, we want to thank you all so much for listening. This has been Fan Theory Queries. I'm Laura.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Spencer. Join us next time for another batch of genius, plausible, unlikely, and preposterous fan theories.
Do you have family or friends who love laughing and pop culture? Chances are they'd enjoy Fan Theory Queries. If you really love them, let them know about the show. Heck, go and tell the people you really hate, too.